I say hi to people here out of courtesy if we're in the same small space or if I'm walking by them. So I just do it just to, as a courtesy. And then a lot of times they just stare at you. And it's like, well, you know what? Fuck you. I didn't want to say hi to you. You're a scumbag. I just happen to be, unfortunately, close enough to you. But, yeah, what are you? What are you? What indeed? Okay, thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe. No. I'll never ask you what to do that. I'm gonna take a walk through the jungle here. What are we? I touched a little bit upon it the other day. It's a real basic, baby's first sort of reality question, but it's worth going over because a lot of these bigger concepts that we that are discussed and that I'll talk about are based on these understandings that everybody just kind of knows, or I assume everybody knows. But occasionally it's good to go over it again, just to do a refresher, So the first thing to really understand is you are not your body. What they tell you is we came from this a gooey puddle, primordial goop, and from there a cell split and then split again, developed all this stuff. That's a bunch of horseshit. You could wait forever for that to happen, and it's never going to happen. So, but anyway, people think they are just an extension of their body. Like, then we get brains, and then we had awareness, and if you put 5,000 monkeys in a room with typewriters, they'll write the fucking great American novel. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. What mainstream science will allow to be talked about is the fact that every one of our vehicles, our bodies have electromagnetic energy. This has a lot to do with, well, everything. I mean, the limbic system, the way your body deals with pain or sensation. The electromagnetic energy just kind of races around at a speed that's kind of imperceivable, but it still takes time. We try to weigh, even before you start looking at other stuff, you kind of think, well, if I hurt myself and I need a signal to go to my brain, and then the brain needs to return the signal to the area of the injury, that's not real time, is it? It may sorry, I'm smoking, of course. It may take a little bit of time, a small fraction of time that, like I said, you can't really perceive, but it still takes time. And, that means it's not in real time. There's a delay there. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's well, I was saying what that kind of says is that there's something afoot at the Circle K. Things aren't happening cause and effect in real time, based just on that alone. And when you die, even mainstream science will tell you the body loses a bit of weight, and I guess our energy has some kind of weight to it, however small. And when it leaves the body, it's perceived. You can see it. Well, you can measure it. Some people can see it. Some people have seen it. But the idea of death, as I've already covered, so I think that's pretty much fucking settled science. But the idea of death has been built up to this thing that puts people in fear. You know, they're afraid of dying, and that drives a lot of bullshit. When it's actually not really even anything. It's just unplugging from this body that gives us only a very small perceptive field to only see a very tiny range of frequencies. In this bubble, snow globe, whatever, it's just energy, frequency, and vibration, as Tesla mentioned before he stormed the charts with his 1989 single Love Song, and subsequently went on the Great Radio Controversy Tour. No, the fucking good band. They were good. But yeah, that's all that's in here. Anything that appears to be matter isn't really solid. I mean, it's matter is made up of 3 neutrons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons. You don't have to know gematria to see where that's going, because the devil and the beast is matter. You know, it is the worldly things here that you can get attached to, that aren't actually even real. So you're just here putting around in this body. It's an avatar, like in a video game, and that's it. But you need to be in this in order to like function and interact with this 3D environment. If you weren't in it, you know, you wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. You'd be incorporeal. You'd be like these demons. You'd be sitting around waiting to get into a person's body to be able to do anything. The purpose of this place is still debated, and probably will be until such time we've all left it. And what the original intention of it was there always some kind of dark force bearing down on those here? Was that something that developed over time? Some people say this is what is like a training ground, like a spiritual training ground for the real you, which isn't your body. What the real you is not even here. It's not even on this plane. I always say it's the 5th dimension. We're 5th dimensional energy beings. And that becomes confusing sometimes because, you know, there's dimensions of places, and then there's mathematical dimensions, which I was talking about the other day, where, you know, it's like, well, how do you live in the 1st dimension? It's a line. But that's, the thing is, we only have so many words to describe these things, and it's talked about so little in our society that there are no agreed upon terms, so you kind of have to just kind of make do with what you have. But in the same way, there is some alignment. I mean, this is considered the 3rd dimension in dimensional spaces, and things are what we've come to understand to be in 3 dimensions. Whereas the 4th dimension, which would be a square, a tesseract, 4 sides, in dimensional places, is more of a travel dimension. It's more of a project dimension. Someone put it really well, you know, since adopted this explanation. Was it Owen Benjamin? He talks about some out there shit sometimes. I haven't watched him in a while. He used to be funny. He probably still is. You know how you go through YouTube and sometimes you really watch certain people all the time, and then whether it's an algorithm that directs you somewhere else or you just kind of get directed somewhere else, you kind of lose some people, pick up new ones. But anyway, yeah, he's funny. He was talking about the 4th dimension being like a travel dimension, or a dimension that bears down on the 3rd dimension. Like the 5th would be the if there was, like if you're in a movie theater, the fifth would be the movie projector up in the thing behind you. The fourth dimension would be the beam of light that comes from the movie projector bearing down on the movie screen, and the screen being the third dimension. This is the screen, this is the illusion, this is the, it looks solid, but none of it is. You know, if you walk up and knock on it, it feels solid because we're on the same frequency. And I'm on the same frequency as this other guy over here and that lady over there. So when we all knock on this thing, you know, we hear it. But you exist, the larger part of you, maybe all of you, yeah, because you could be split up in a bunch of different places. Because here you're split up. I mean, you're split up among all these different what appear to be people, but they're really just points of attention, of perspective, expressing themselves as individuals. So it's like we're all one being, and I know that's kind of hard to, it's hard for me to really think about sometimes because, you know, you have conflict with different people and you can't imagine yourself being your enemies, but you know you are. When you have conflict with someone, you're just having conflict with yourself. When you're going to kill people or go to war, you're going to war with yourself. You're stealing from yourself. I think when you look at the Bible, and I know I'm going like this all over the road here, not physically, but conversationally. When they have the commandments, because there is some truth in the Bible, they have to give us some kind of truth. There's a lot, I don't understand how the cosmic, spiritual, karmic laws work, but there's some things they have to do, and we see it all the time in a lot of different stuff. The evil works in contracts, it works in terms and conditions. It's got to let you kind of know what it's doing, and then your silence or your non-action is taken as consent, and then or your participation or your non-participation. They set it up so that they're kind of in the position to get the easy win no matter what. So you got to be very thoughtful, and we don't have a very thoughtful society. And it was designed, and was designed that way and driven that way. It's been made that way, specifically so that we really can't work this shit out if we even had the time. But you're in what I would call a fifth dimensional space. You don't have form, but you're also, the commandments when they say, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. I don't think it's saying don't steal, don't kill. It's saying you can't kill and you can't steal, because you'd be killing yourself, you'd be stealing from yourself. You're not stealing anything when you take it, you know, all of those things can be looked at that way. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. It's just something I picked up on. But yeah, so anyway, in this dimension here, hey, Low Rooster, man, how you doing? These guys are everywhere. I believe you're broadcasting to here, in a sense, from wherever you actually are. But you're broadcasting to all of these bodies. They're all you, just different perspectives of you. I don't like to dwell on that macro part of it, because I lose hold of it. You know, it's hard to really operate with that thought, but it is something that you got to keep in the back of your mind. You are all these other people, but it's also a good way to control people. Like if you had a giant come into the village and you can't possibly stop him, because the people that are in air quotes control of us are much weaker than we are. They don't have a fraction of the, I guess you'd call, power that we have. So they have to trick us into thinking we're mice when we're actually lions. The thing is, you have to have an aneurysm like I just had, I guess. This happens to me sometimes, where I'll just be in the middle of a sentence and it just goes blank. But I've been asking people about that, and a lot of other people have the same thing, so I don't think I'm dying quite yet. But you're broadcasting to here. And when your time ends here, when you leave the body, when you leave these fleshy, limited vehicles, it's just like almost, I believe anyway, like when you have a dream, like a stressful dream that's something like this, and you're like going through some kind of dilemma or some kind of test. Because to me, that's all dreams are, just little tests, little versions of what this thing is here. When you unplug from that, it's just like coming awake from a dream. You're like, oh wow, I was just dreaming, That's the same thing here. But anyway, getting back to the giant analogy, these people, they need to control us, and that control is maintained by the an allegory I use is just a child jumping up and down, or an example, not an allegory. Example is a child jumping up and down constantly saying, look over here, look over here, look over here. And they can't stop doing that for 1 second, because if they give us the time to recalibrate and think about what's going on, there's a possibility that we could fucking flip their card table, and we're going to, and that's what's happening. So it's all good. But so the giant's coming into town. They want to control the giant. They can't possibly. He's way stronger than them. So if the giant is divided into a bunch of dwarves, well, then that's much easier, isn't it? And that's kind of the situation here. That's a real dumb way to put it, but it's a visual, So we're split up. We're a giant split up in all these little dwarves. On top of that, they have so many methods of control, but what it comes down to is it's like a farm. And I know Orwell touched on that, Animal Farm and stuff, but they're farmers, That's what they do. They farm people. Just like you would have, cows. If you have a bunch of cows, it's pretty easy to keep control of and maximize and work with. You just kind of herd them around. You build a fence. If they get too cocky, you make an electric fence. As what we are, we're a lot more advanced. So the fences they have to build require a complexity to the point where that we don't even know that the fence is there. Because if we knew the fence was there, we'd all be standing at the fence, So it's a system that's been around for a very long time. And they're always trying to refine the methods of, maintaining control to utilize their, cattle better, basically. How to be more efficient farmers. That's all it is, We are farmers. Dum, da, da, dum, dum, dum. They have to tell you. They have to let you know. But yeah, so you're not this body. You're not even here. You're broadcasting to here. So you're going to be fine. That's why you can't be afraid of anything. Because if you get controlled by fear and you do a bunch of dumb stuff that you regret, when you take the fucking VR helmet off and you realize, oh shit, that was just an exercise, or that was just a test, you're going to feel really bad, I think it will anyway, because that's all it is. It's just like this is a little tiny test. It feels like a lifetime. It feels like a long time, because time only exists here. It doesn't exist outside this 3D space, this test, or this whatever program, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And when I say program, it's not, I don't buy into that whole simulation theory thing. I think if anything, computers with their ones and zeros copy what we are. And I'll go into why that is, but I want to kind of keep this kind of short. Just figured I'd take a walk over by the Honolulu Zoo. It is illegal to feed birds in this park. I'm sure they have a good reason for it. It's illegal to feed anyone. Actually, it's legal to feed people. They don't want you. You know what I mean? What kind of world? What kind of world do we live in? Well, you know who runs the place just by looking at its little rules. You can't feed birds, can't feed people. Does that sound like a good force to you? That's running things with a good force put animals in fucking zoos are the worst. That whole thing about education is retarded. I could watch a tiger on the Animal Planet and get just as much out of it than looking at a poor, drugged, depressed, nearly dead, slumping king brought low so that kids can fucking poke the glass enclosure. It's disgusting. It's barbaric, man. This is wrong. Yeah, I always never liked zoos. Never liked zoos. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up for now. It's a nice day out here. This is like one of those days where, like, growing up in the eastern seaboard of the mainland, you would be forced to go outside on a day like today because you'd be like, oh, it's 85 and windy. You kidding me? You can't miss today. You'd feel guilty if you didn't. That's pretty much every day here. So despite all the nitpicks I have and how I'm always complaining about some of the people and the bullshit that goes on here, it is really beautiful. And I do feel incredibly lucky to have wound up here instead of where a lot of people would have liked to see me. Yeah, just live well and or as good as you can. Don't be afraid, because there's nothing to be afraid of. It's all just like a test, and it's so minuscule, it's so small. You're going to be very surprised. Or from what I understand, you're going to be very surprised. Oh, somebody's jamming over there. All right, got nothing against church. Only people who go there and show they're plain ignorant and don't understand that a congregation on weekends won't change their behavior.